This guy's just pulled off the ultimate flex, a double gold medal at his home tournament in Perth in the pro men's doubles and mixed doubles events. He's the captain of the Western Vipers, co-owner of HAMR Paddles, and one of the best dudes in pickleball, Andy Horridge. Welcome to the pod, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me, Adam.
Congratulations on the double gold. How are you feeling after that one?
I'm feeling super pumped. Obviously, I actually said to myself at the start of the year when I was in China that one of my aims for the year was to get 3 podiums in PPA events. But I've come away with 2 golds, so I'm definitely pretty chuffed.
Let's start with the men's doubles. You played with Laville. Tell us about your run through to the final.
Yeah, so the first time teaming up with Louis, he actually beat me in the singles final 2 days prior. He played well. First time teaming up with Louis, obviously he wanted to play left side. We had a pretty cruisy day in the group stages. Had one little fright from some Vietnamese guys, I think they were, or Malaysians, that came over for the event. And then was pretty cruisy until that final match against Jay and Ollie, where we definitely didn't even turn up in the first game. We got a bit of energy in the second game, started a bit of chirp, and then battled our way through to a convincing 3rd set win.
So how did you approach that final against Jay and Ollie, considering they've been pretty dominant in their pool rounds, much like you and Louis?
Yeah, obviously we knew it was going to be tough. I think our style of play, Louis on the left with his fast hands, allowing him to pull the trigger against Ollie. I think 7 to 8 times out of 10, he would have won that exchange. So that was kind of our game plan going into it, keeping it slow. I played Jay previously in New Zealand against him and Rob Cassidy, and he just targeted my backhand counter the entire game. So obviously I knew that was going to come out again. But fair to say, I was about even wins and losses down the line with him. But it was those counters that really gave us the edge, I think, just in his mental game.
And I couldn't help but notice, mate, no handshake with Jay at the end. Any beef there, or was that just a moment of frustration on his part? He does like to storm off after a loss.
I think it was just friendly banter, Adam.
Okay. Are you keeping your cards close to your chest there?
It's close to my chest, yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Let's talk about that mixed, actually. So you partnered with Katie Hart.
Yep.
And you both looked totally in control all day. How was your run to the final there with her?
Yeah, obviously we were trying to get that top spot, which allowed us for a much easier semi-final. We didn't really want to go up against Louis and Molly or Jane Rose in that semi-final spot. Kind of just wanted to seal the deal, get a bit of prize money, a bit of points straight through to the final. But yeah, pretty cruisy day up until that final again. We were playing really well. Energy was fantastic the entire time. And then we were just playing lights out pretty much the entire day.
Tell me a bit more about Katie, because in my view, I reckon she's been one of the biggest improvers from 2024 to 2025. You know it pretty well.
Yeah. So obviously being close with Katie for 2 years now, she was actually one of the first females I versed interstate. Beat her and Mike Neal.
Up yours, Mike.
She's got a really rock solid game. She makes almost every drop now. That was an area in a game previously where it wasn't fantastic. Usually, if I versed her, would return to her, she'd give us 3 or 4 points per game off a pretty silly error on her drop. So that's one area where she's definitely improved. She's really rock solid in that transition zone. So she picks up hard balls, even though for a tall girl, she really gets through that transition zone quite fast and really well. Once you get to that kitchen, she's got that excellent reach. She's developed a nice backhand flick now to add to that pressure.
And she must be pretty fun to play with because, energy's pretty high. But I'd say out of both of you, you do wear disappointment on your face pretty obviously, but you weren't disappointed in that match with Rose and Jay really at all.
No, it's just we found our lingos. We were just out there having fun the entire day. We had the crowd backing us. I was the only Perth player through to the final, so that helped as well, having that crowd behind us. We had people on the sidelines saying, "You two are just having the most fun out there." That's what helped us a lot as well, was just having a smile on our faces playing.
So what was the game plan going to that final against Rose and Jay? They've been a partnership for a while now. Rose, she's battled a few injuries. I reckon she's still, doesn't look 100%, but she's still performing at a pretty high clip. So what was the game plan in that final?
Yeah, obviously Rose has had those injuries, like you were saying. She's still a weapon. We went pretty quickly down to a 3-0 deficit in game one, with Rose pulling out a pretty good volley on that third point. And that was kind of like, whoa, all right, we've got to wake up. And we pretty much just played solid from then on. We didn't really have a game plan. You moved the dinks around. Jay's more predictable, has less weapons than Rose, in my opinion. So kind of just sit on those counters again, let Katie take the initial speed ups. I think that's what she does better than I do, is because she's longer, she can get those easier balls. But I think we just counted when the counters were on, moved the dinks around well, and then I think our energy just lifted and almost kind of made Joel and Rose go into their own little bowl.
And you mentioned before you are a Perth boy, so what did it mean to win those events at your home tournament in front of a local crowd?
Mate, it was unreal. First professional PPA tournament in Perth, and it was just the best feeling. And no words can describe, like, I guess, how proud I am to actually, in a way, put Perth on the map. Be the captain of the Vipers team. That would have never have happened if I didn't take a few risks here and there. It was just an unreal feeling, lifting up 2 trophies on the weekend and seeing my mum and my sister cry happy tears.
Yeah. I mean, your sister, I saw her scamper across the court, I think, in that mixed final after you'd won it. She's one of your biggest supporters, and you had to pull her in to the Western Vipers for the first tournament, and she was pretty solid. Tell us more about your family support, actually.
Yeah, so mum's always been in my corner. Sometimes it's hard traveling all the time without them, to be completely honest. I'm very much a home boy, very close to my sister. So that's, with Alicia now a part of the Challengers side, I know she's always in my corner. She's the loudest person, the loudest supporter there. Very close with her. Mum, she's just doing all the right things. It was actually nice to see my dad on the sidelines for a change as well. Usually I don't like him coming to my games because he's trying to coach me and whatever else, and he's got no experience, pickle or tennis or any racket background. So we butted heads a few times, but it was nice to see him there and, watch me lift up a trophy for a change.
That's nice to hear, mate. I can understand what that is like. Having played a lot of footy with myself, Dad was one of my big supporters. But then when I got older, I thought I knew everything and I didn't want his advice anymore. But I can hand on heart say I've had the pleasure of having my family there for those big moments. So it doesn't get much bigger as a moment than winning 2 golds in your home tournament. So I'm glad to hear that they were all there, mate. Let's talk about MLP. It's been a rough start for the Western Vipers in 2025. What's your take on how things have gone so far?
Yeah, definitely pretty rough. 0-15, and luckily Ryan and Ella pulled one off to go 1-15. So, you thought you drafted well. It just hasn't come together. LP is one of those formats where it's close every single time. We went 0-8 in our first event at Tweed, but 4 of those games we lost by 2 points. So, it's always a nail biter. I was speaking to Ryan before, and even though we are actually the worst team in MLP at the moment, we're just going out there having fun. We're chasing a plastic ball around for a living and, act like we are winning even though we're getting thrashed all the time. So hopefully we get a few more wins on the board coming into this next Tweed event. But first and foremost, it's just having fun.
Do you think you can see some significant improvement? I mean, if we go to 2024, season 1 was a rough season, but season 2 was outstanding. It was a completely different lineup and change of personnel. But one thing remains the same. You've still got Ryan Henry by your side. You've only had now 1 tournament with the redraft inclusion there. So look, surely there's going to be potentially some green shoots ahead of you.
Yeah, Ryan and I are going to mix things up going into this next event. Ryan's constantly improving. He's getting more hours on court than he did in the previous season, so that's exciting. Mia's just won a gold medal over in Dubai with Nicola Schumann, so that's a promising sign. And then Ella's just a blast as well. She's keen as mustard. She's got a wicked backhand flick. Really easy to play with as well. So onto bigger and better things, hopefully, Adam.
Well, mate, I know what your attitude's going to be like. It's going to be, I'm here to win. It's not, I'm here to fold. And I'll say that has been a criticism of high-profile players last season and the season before, and even some captains, to be honest, mate. But don't be one of them. I want to see you guys fight it out. Which team has surprised you the most this season? I know it's a small sample size, but which team has surprised you the most?
Wow. Tough question. Probably Sydney Smash. I want to say probably Sydney Smash. Beat Massey's just improved out of nowhere. Going into the draft, I knew she'd be good, but then seeing her at New Zealand, she's just like, whoa, she's lethal. Obviously for Mitch, it was a massive change going from a Walker sister into Connie Lee, but she's just holding her own as well. She's looking lethal. Her and Kim really make a dangerous duo in the mixed as well. And then Mitch and B, obviously Mitch being one of the standout players in Australia, is just rock solid all the time. So I think Mitch did a really, really good draft. I don't think it was surprising, but to see them reach their potential so early on is pretty scary.
It's been a long time coming for the Sydney Smash. They really haven't fired a shot in season 1 and season 2 last year. So, they're finally sort of showing what we all expected them to show. And I think if they didn't, we weren't going to give them the benefit of the doubt for much longer.
No, that's right. Regular scoring plays so much to rally scoring, and sorry, Joey Wild, but maybe you should just stick to regular scoring.
Mate, tell me about HAMR. You co-own that with Michael Russ. What's it like owning and running your own paddle brand?
Oh, it's so much fun, Adam. I had Katie say on the weekend while we're playing mixed together, holy smokes, there is like every second person over here owns a hammer. And that just really like,
I've heard that.
Yeah, over here it's just absolutely massive. WA is our top market. We're both WA boys. It started from me just Googling, what it takes to build a paddle, analyzed that there was a gap in the market in WA, and then, phoning a friend, getting some money behind us, and boom, it's just so much fun. It makes me definitely proud, just for myself to see products in the wild. Mum was like, it's either you do something with your life or you go to university. I was like, oh, I'll try and make something of this. We keep growing year upon year, and it's just having everyone behind us, like all of our ambassadors, is just crazy. It's just fun.
I love the phrase you just used there, products in the wild. That's actually really cool to think about, that you've got something that you've conceptualized, what it took to build it, and then you just randomly see it in people's hands that you've personally don't know, but they're customers of yours. What was the startup phase like? You just mentioned you Googled what would it take to build a paddle, but how did it all begin from there?
God, we had about 2 weeks where we were just thinking of names, and it was just like, chat GPT some stuff, just brainstorm. So Michael and I were just going at it. Michael was my doubles partner at the time, a good mate of mine as well, somebody that I really trusted. And he just had a great idea. Why not mash our initials together? So HAMR, Andrew Horridge, Michael Russ. So that's what HAMR stands for, is just our initials. And then to put our kind of name back into the brand is awesome as well. But it was just a lot of Googling, prototypes galore. Like we had, 4 different factories that we tried, and some we loved more than others. Reached back out to them, did all the USAPA stuff, did a bit of branding. We're a small company. We don't have that much money, but we really, really value our reputation and our product quality over anything. So we're never going to rush prototypes. If you guys have issues with the products, it's like 1 out of, 400 that might have gone wrong. We'll instantly replace it, no questions asked. So if you have a smile on your face from our products, that makes us have a smile as well.
And your ambassadors extend from juniors all the way through to seniors, pros, intermediate pros. I remember actually Dylan Kimlin introducing you to a couple of his juniors at the Australian Pickleball Championships at KTV. And next thing I know, they're walking around with shirts, paddles, and they were new ambassadors. Like, that's how quick you guys move when you see something or someone that, you want to back.
Yeah, exactly. Like we brought Fallon on board. I think she's 15, 16. But as soon as she got her hands on some product, she loved it. If I was 15 or 16 again, and had the chance to meet an owner of a decently big brand in Australia, I would have tried snatching them up, and I would have loved the opportunity. So just going back into her shoes, what would I have loved from her? It doesn't cost a heap for us, but it could change her dream or something. So we're happy to bring her on board.
I love that, how you're thinking from the perspective of what would I like in this moment as a 15-year-old myself, and literally you just decided, well, let's just support her.
Yeah.
Straight, we've only met her today. Here's a paddle. Here's a shirt. You're on board.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Obviously, it can't happen with everyone.
Now people are rushing.
Stop it. Stop the clip. Yeah.
There's a caveat.
Yeah. One step forward now.
It's all about who you know. Maybe the
That's it.
introduction has to come from someone that you're trusting.
Talk to
But
Dylan.
please do not run up to me at tournaments. Don't have that much stock.
Dylan.
What makes a paddle great from a player's point of view, do you reckon?
Well, it's all personal preference, right? Like, you've got players that love a bit of, more power than others. Some really value spin and control. For me, Michael actually lets me handle all the paddle side of things. So he goes, you're the better player out of us two. You know more about paddles. You've played with paddles more. Build yourself a paddle that you're going to use, and then other people will like it. Not everyone will like it, and that's completely fine with us. You can't cater for everyone. But for us, quality control means how long does a paddle last, before it comes dead or delaminated. How long could I play tournaments with the same paddle? That's really big. Not so much over here, but when I go over to Queensland, I'm playing 5 days a week for 3 hours a day. So if it lasts for me for, say, 2 months, it should last someone, an average Joe, 6 months maybe. So that's kind of where we start.
And you've got a tennis background. I don't want to delve too much into that today, but I would say that the HAMR Paddle is pretty widely known as a really good all-rounder, but would it be fair to say it's almost perfect for anyone coming in from the tennis background to pick up and play, competitively relatively quickly?
Yeah, so like now we've got the two models. We've got the Ignite, which is your shorter handle, which, I still played with for over a year, but now the Sledge is just a little bit longer in the handle, which caters for more of a tennis player background. It's a little bit poppier, a little bit more powerful. In a way, it kind of feels like it has strings on it because of that. So if you're coming from a decent level tennis background, probably just try the Sledge straight up. If you're wanting to adapt a bit more in your game and coming from a lower level tennis background, maybe just stick with the Ignite until you learn the fundamentals of the ball game a bit more.
Well, last question on the HAMR was going to be, what do you think sets it apart, from the paddles we see pros using across the tours? But I think you've already talked, so much about it. Feels like strings. Wow, that's a soundbite.
Oh, it's not a mod. That thing does have strings. You can still very much control it. It's just a bit poppier than the Gen 2s.
All right. I see a lot more people with them these days than I did when you first started. And obviously over in Perth, it's just a bonanza over there. Very popular paddle coming to the East Coast. And I do know that David Schwartz, he was the one that designed your logo.
Yeah, he was.
He also designed the Slam Jam logo, believe it or
There you
not.
go.
So he's our guy.
He knows what he's doing.
He's a jet.
Yeah, Michael actually whipped up a rough logo on PowerPoint, believe it or not. We just flicked it to David, said sort it out. And he's such a nice guy, quick turnaround time, and now he's part of the brand.
Mate, when you give him something he's passionate about, and we know how much he loves his pickleball, mate, he's rock solid with his ideas. All right, before we wrap things up, let's do a quick fire round of questions, okay? So, I don't want you to think too much, but yeah, these might go viral, mate, so you might have to think a little bit. So tell me, most underrated player in MLP Australia right now?
Talia Saunders.
If you could have one Vipers alumni player back, who would it be and why?
Casey Rogers, most fun.
Your personal nightmare dream breaker matchup from this season?
George Ward, Jack Wong, Mitch, Kenta.
Probably. Oh, Kenta would be brutal. I thought Jack Wong is who's going to tell me. But Kenta, I forgot about Kenta.
Kenta's...
What's your go-to warm-up artist or song?
Love a bit of Drake. Just constant on repeat. Yeah.
Most annoying shot or tactic in pickleball.
Bad Chicks, Scorpion. Still gives me nightmares.
Name one pro you'd love to see using a hammer and why. They can be from anywhere in the world.
Zane Navratil is a good bloke, plays well, Pickleball.
Dream mixed partner and why.
Adelaide Waters, I wouldn't have to do anything.
What's your go-to post-tournament meal or cheat food?
Love a HSP box.
HSP.
You know those kebab shops?
Go on.
The chips and the lamb and the sauce and
How many sauces are you chucking on this
just
thing to
one,
get it
just
down?
garlic aioli.
Just one.
Garlic aioli.
I'm the mix and match type of guy. Who's got the best on-court chat in the league?
Danny L. Townsend. Oh, in the league. Does Danny count?
Yeah, Danny can count. I mean, give me your runner-up then.
Michelle Escobar.
Oh, nice. I love that. Worst travel experience during a tournament.
Oh, food poisoning in India. I had some uncooked chicken at UB's tournament earlier this year. I was bedridden for 2 days.
Well, mate, congrats again on the big weekend. Massive effort. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Good luck to you and the Vipers. I'm hoping for some improved results or just some epic games. I'm sure you'll deliver there. And good luck with everything with HAMR. We'll be watching closely.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Adam. Really appreciate it.